Hello, I'm Jeff Black, and I'm here today to talk with you about Xanterra Travel Collection and their commitment to CSR, or Corporate Social Responsibility. They are a hospitality and travel company with operations all over the country. I'll primarily be focusing on their national park operations. How does CSR help Xanterra, and how does it contribute to its superior performance? Also, how could Xanterra improve its CSR programs? On the agenda today, I'll be looking at their four-pronged attack, especially in regards to their environmental initiatives. Also, how Xanterra seeks to be good citizens and good neighbors. How does this CSR help Xanterra, and how can they improve? So, the four-pronged attack. Their environmental initiatives are built on a four-pillar approach, or a four-pronged attack. For one, the wise use of resources, ambitions towards having zero waste or as close to it as possible, offering guests sustainable choices, not just in restaurants, but in gift shop operations, and having sustainable operations even in terms of the buildings that they create. Using resources effectively and efficiently, they seek to, by next year, sustainably source and locally source 70% of the food they use in their national parks operations, and they're very close, if not at, doing that. Locally and sustainably sourcing food, especially locally sourcing food, helps lower the need for transportation. It gets trucks off the road, lowers fuel usage, better air quality in the parks, and also fewer trucks on the road. Fewer trucks on the road on the already crowded national park roads. That's going to lead to happier guests. Guests that have to travel through less traffic are going to arrive in a better mood and more ready to have a positive experience. So, using resources effectively, they seek to reduce their drinkable water use by 5% annually, especially in water stressed areas. Just last year at the Grand Canyon, the lodges and restaurants had to shut down on the South Rim due to a water main break. And that's not an uncommon situation at the Grand Canyon, for one. So, anything they can do at Xanterra to reduce water use is a good thing. I'll note that Xanterra defines zero waste as less than 10% of the waste going to a landfill. 10% is greater than zero, as we all know. However, I do think some waste is just waste, and I think that's a very admirable goal at less than 10%, close enough to zero. A very interesting program I discovered is that at their Mount Rushmore operation, every year over 10,000 pounds of food scraps from their restaurants get composted and put into gardens that the employees grow right there on site. The healthy soil in those gardens then produces 5,000 pounds more of vegetables that the guests and the employees can all enjoy. Again, locally sourced, trucks off of the road, less fuel usage, and recycling of the materials from the restaurants. So less waste. Um, their sustainable choices are often, if not always, certified by third parties. And I think that's very important. Anyone can claim to be sustainably operating, but if it's backed up by a third party, that makes the claim all the more authentic. And it's not just in terms of food either. At the gift shops, the labels that I'm showing here on screen are put right on the products, and it tells the guests if things are sourced locally, made from recycled materials, and how sustainable they are. So I think that's a very good idea. It makes it easy for the guests. It makes the guests feel good about buying products from Xanterra. Operating sustainably is important anywhere, but I would argue even more so in national parks. Um, the environments in national parks are most often unique and vulnerable, and they're ultimately the environments are why the guests are there in the first place. So if the environments are damaged, then the guests just won't show up. And Xanterra has a huge range of operations all around the country, so it's an ambitious goal to be sustainable, but I think it's one they're living up to. And it's not just in environmental efforts. An example is that the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Wyoming named Xanterra their Community Partner of the Year for 2022. Make-A-Wish, if you're unaware, they provide wishes. They grant wishes to kids with terminal illnesses, and so these were kids that wanted to see the national park at Yellowstone. Also in the Yellowstone area, Xanterra donated over 500 backpacks full of school supplies to needy families in local communities in Gardner and West Yellowstone, Montana. These communities have fewer than 2,000 people combined, so that's a very huge impact on a small community. So I thought that was really being a good neighbor. This is a very innovative program that they have, the Northern Great Plains Regenerative Grazing Program. This program essentially is designed to improve soil health and strengthen root systems of native grasses and reduce erosion. It involves rotational grazing, and what it does is, well, the way Xanterra benefits is they'll buy from the ranchers who implement these practices, and the ranches that I'm speaking of right here and showing in the picture are in Montana, so they're very near Yellowstone Park. It reduces the need to transport the goods a long way and enhances and helps the health of the ecosystem. So, how does all of this CSR help Xanterra? Let's have a look. Brand differentiation is a primary way. It makes Xanterra unique. They're set apart from other concessionaires like Sodexo or Aramark. Unique environments, such as this one I'm showing here at Death Valley, need a unique approach. Xanterra doesn't own most of the properties they operate in. I think that's important to note. The National Park Service does. And every year, every 10 to 20 years, Xanterra needs to bid for the contracts to serve these parks. So it's very, very important that they keep the National Park Service happy, and I think they're doing that. Um, Happy National Park Service is likely to grant Xanterra future contracts, more business for Xanterra. And at the same time, it does a good thing by preserving and protecting the unique environments where they operate. And you know, those environments, the national parks, they belong to all of us. So I think that's very important, not just for us, but for protecting Xanterra's own future. A lot of the employees who work in the national parks do so because they love nature. They love being there. So this type of initiative, the environmental initiatives, make them happy. Happy employees make happy guests. Happy guests spend more time, spend more money, go home and tell their friends all about it, and their friends are likely to come back and spend more money at Xanterra. So it all drives business for Xanterra. I think it's a great idea both now and in the future. So what do they need to do to get better? Well, I would increase and expand what they already do. That's easy to say. That's an obvious idea. I'd also find ways to improve the infrastructure in and around the national parks, things like the water systems. Anything they can do to improve the aging infrastructure would help. Things like electric vehicle charging stations would be a great idea. Certainly expanding the Northern Great Plains Regenerative Grazing Program and invest in emerging technologies as they come along. Ultimately, in conclusion, Xanterra walks the walk. They're future thinking, they're good neighbors, and I think they're poised to serve the national parks and other places around the country for years to come. Here's a quick look at some of the works that I utilized. I want to thank you all for taking the time to have a look at my project. Hope you learned something about Xanterra. Have a great day.